I want our viewers to listen in to what the External Affairs Minister said about the G20 conversations that were happening and the efforts made by India.
I met Minister Chingang on the sidelines of the conference this afternoon. It's our first meeting after he took over as Foreign Minister. So we spent, I don't know, maybe about 45 minutes talking to each other. There are real problems in that relationship that need to be looked at, that need to be discussed very openly and candidly between us. That's what we sought to do today. We also had a brief discussion on what was happening in the G20 framework, but the thrust of the meeting was really on our bilateral relationship and the challenges in the bilateral relationship, especially that of peace and tranquility in the border areas. Excellencies, let us remind ourselves that this grouping bears an exceptional responsibility. We first came together in the midst of a global crisis and are today, once again, actually confronting multiple ones. In considering these issues, we may not always be of one mind. In fact, there are some matters of sharp differences of opinions and views. Yet, we must find common ground and provide direction, because that is what the world expects of us. The world must also strive for more reliable and resilient supply chains. Recent experience has underlined the risks of being dependent on limited geographies.
Ambassador Jaishankar, is this your appreciation of the situation also, that even the G20 is now sharply divided? The Western Bloc and Russia, China on one side, and there is very little common ground on any issue because of Russia-Ukraine?
Yes, I think it is casting a shadow on the proceedings of the G20, and it would be in the interest of the world if the two sides could set aside their differences for the time being, or acknowledge them and keep them to a side, and try to find common ground on the global challenges which are of acute nature and which really are the primary concerns of the rest of the world.
But since that is not happening, Ambassador Dayal, what's the way forward? What's the road ahead? Because what happened at the finance ministers meet, when you're looking for more funds for energy security, for food security, for sustainable development goals, that doesn't seem to be happening either at the finance ministers meeting or the foreign ministers meeting. The entire focus of the West remains condemn Russia, condemn Russia. The entire focus of Russia and China remains to stall this. What next then?
Well, our Prime Minister has given the best possible advice during his address today at the G20 Foreign Ministers meeting. He said that the divisive issues should be kept aside and the G20 should address the problems which it is supposed to address, that is the economic issues. He very categorically emphasized that the problems of the global south need attention, because in this entire scenario, the countries of the global south are suffering the most. And that is why he underlined that the presidency of India over the G20 will highlight the problems of the global south, and that perhaps is what needs to be done. On the other hand, if the world continues to be divided the way it is, and that is reflected in the G20 deliberations, then it will be difficult to find a way forward.